Holy Gospel according to John, the 14th chapter. Glory to you, O Lord. Philip said to Jesus, "Lord, show us the Father, and we will be satisfied." Jesus said to him, "Have I been with you all this time, Philip, and you still don't know me? Whoever has seen me has seen the Father. How then can you say, 'Show us the Father'? Do you not believe that I am in the Father and the Father is in me? The words that I say to you, I do not speak on my own, but the Father who dwells in me does his works. Believe me that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. But if you don't, then believe me because of the works themselves. Very truly, I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do, and in fact will do greater works than these, because I'm going to the Father. I will do whatever you ask in my name, so that the Father may be glorified in the Son. If in my name you ask me for anything, I will do it. If you love me, you will keep my commandments, and I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you forever. This is the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him, because he abides with you, and he will be with you. I have said these things to you while I am still with you. But the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. It is time to say goodbye. Even as I wrote this sermon throughout this past week, there were so many goodbyes, dozens of them, just in this past week. As students moved out, some stopped by Lutheran Campus Ministry for a quick hug. Others brought their parents in to see for themselves just what this place is called LCM. Some wanted a goodbye lunch with me and Mom and Dad. Still others lingered in my office forever. Not wanting to leave, not wanting to stay, not really knowing what to do, not knowing how to say goodbye. There were many, many tears this week. Goodbyes are hard. I used to be terrible at saying goodbye. I taught English and German for 2 years from 1994 to 1996 in a high school in southern Hungary. My students lived in a dorm during the week, and since I lived across the street from them, we got to know each other very, very well. We went on school trips to Romania and Russia and the former Yugoslavia. We grieved together as some students saw their home villages destroyed in the Bosnian War, which was just a few miles over the Hungarian border. We celebrated together as they graduated and as some even passed state exams to become teachers themselves. We watched films, we studied, we read books, we held discussions countless times in the old, disgusting basement dormitory cafeteria, drinking cold coffee and eating black bread well into the late hours of the night. And finally, in mid-May, this very time of year, in 1996, when it was my time to say goodbye to them, I did something terrible to my students and to this village that I had come to love so much. I left in the middle of the night without saying goodbye. In my defense, at that time, just the thought of saying goodbye to them tore me up. But what I did not realize at the time was that I robbed them and me of the opportunity to say things that need to be said when one says goodbye. Things like, thank you for what you've meant to me. Thank you for letting me cry on your shoulder. I will miss you. Thank you for sitting with me when I was homesick. I will think of you so often. Thank you for teaching me things I never knew. Thank you for changing my life for the better. And so on. Saying goodbye is not fun, but it's necessary. Over time, I've gotten a little better at saying goodbye, but that doesn't mean it's easy or that I like it. Since those years in Hungary, I have said goodbye to an unborn child, a marriage, and a beloved parish of 14 years. But you have had your goodbyes too. Whether it be high school graduation, college graduation, a best friend, a loved one, a pastor, a job, a roommate, your childhood home, a relationship, or a chapter in life, we all must say goodbye sometime. It's inevitable. In our reading from John this morning, it's time for Jesus to say goodbye. Judas has just left the table. Jesus is about to die, and he is preparing his friends for this. It's time for me to say goodbye now, he says. And he makes this farewell speech in the Gospel of John that rivals Shakespeare's best. He offers his friends comfort and reassurance despite the terrible things that are about to take place. He says to them, don't be afraid. Don't be troubled. I'm not leaving you forever. I'm going to give you my Holy Spirit to comfort you in my absence until I come back at the end of time, and I will come back at the end of time. Peace be with you. I remember doing something similar when my boys were little. I would give them a special blanket or a stuffed animal when I dropped them off at their babysitters to comfort them in my absence. In the same way, World War II soldiers often left for war with locks of their lady's hair or a ribbon or a handkerchief to remind them of love waiting for them at home. We all need comfort after a goodbye in times of anxiety and absence and fear. So when Jesus' time on earth is finally finished, when he said his final goodbye, he gives his disciples and he gives to us his Holy Spirit to comfort us in his absence. This Spirit is like that child's security blanket that binds us together as a people of God. But here is where that metaphor must end, because how the Spirit works is really a far cry from a child's snug nursery. Sometimes the Spirit of God works in soft and subtle ways, but more often than not, the Spirit of God works in howling winds and gushing waters and tongues of fire. The job of the Holy Spirit is to make us different from one another and then to scatter us out into the world. This is unsettling and uncomfortable stuff, as we are shaped and molded to become the people we are supposed to be. The job of the Holy Spirit is to make you different from anybody else in the world. And if you struggle with the Bible, maybe Dr. Seuss will make more sense. He says, "You are the only you. Who in this world is youer than you?" The Spirit gives each one of you skills and gifts that this world needs, and then kicks you out from the nest and sends you into weird places to do miraculous and bizarre things. The last place I ever wanted to be was southern Hungary, but it changed my life forever, and I'd like to think I changed theirs. The last place I ever thought I would end up in ministry was campus ministry, but lo and behold, here I am. And this ministry, like yours, is life-changing stuff. Together, you and I have a hand in doing the work of the Holy Spirit by shaping and equipping the friends at LCM to go out into the world to do bizarre and wonderful things. Some will become doctors and nurses and musicians and actors and engineers and teachers. Some will become pastors. I took 17 students up to Wartburg Seminary for a 3-day retreat 2-3 weeks ago, and by the time Sunday rolled around, 5 and now 6 are enrolled and headed off to seminary to become ordained pastors in the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. The rest are no less significant, offering their skills in this world and in God's church as lay leaders, which we also need so very, very much. Just as God stirs you up and makes you restless until you find that place where you need to be, so too is God stirring up the friends at LCM as they prepare for wherever God will send them. While God's Spirit works to ensure that we are all different, I think we can all agree that being different is a decidedly uncomfortable place to be. Most of the time in life, it seems we try to fit in, and we follow fads and fashions and trends, and we strive to maintain the status quo, but Christians are not meant to fit in. And the norm is not where Christians are called to be, especially when that norm declares that God and the church are dead, or worse, irrelevant. God is not dead. God is not irrelevant. On the contrary, God is very much alive and on the move, and that is a counter-cultural thing to say. God is highly relevant to a humanity who asks the same questions generation after generation. Who am I, and what's the meaning of life? We're not afraid to wrestle with these questions at LCM. These students are getting ready to head out into a world that is desperate for meaningful connection and relationship, both to each other and to something outside themselves, which we Christians call God. When their time at LCM is done, it's my heart's desire that we don't so much kick them from the nest, but rather that we launch them into this world. True, they might not know where they'll land, but they will know who they are, children of God. As to the meaning of life, they will know the answer to that as well. To love everybody with the same selfless love that Jesus Christ has for each one of us. Yes, goodbyes are tough. And the time following a goodbye is scary. But remember that goodbye is never final. My favorite thing that I like to say goodbye to someone is I always say this: we will meet again. I say it to the students leaving now because most of us will see each other again in August, if not before. Jesus says it to his disciples, but he's referring to heaven, where all of creation will be reconciled and reunited. Either way, it's true, right? Either our bodies will physically meet again in this world, or else we will meet again in life eternal beyond the grave. It's a huge confession of faith to say, we will meet again. Say it with me. We will meet again. Say it the next time you have to hug someone goodbye. Goodbye, my friend. We will meet again. It's enough. Indeed, it's everything. because it addresses the now and the not yet. I thank you. And the students at Lutheran Campus Ministry, thank you for your partnership in this exhilarating and terrifying ministry of shaping these young men and these young women to meet the needs of this world. These are the ones that the prophet Joel is speaking of in our readings for today. These are the young ones who prophesy and see visions, while we who are old get to dream dreams. The world needs their prophecy and needs their vision now more than ever. LCM is shaping leaders who will not fit into this world, but they will challenge it, they will shape it, and they will stir it up, which is holy work. God is on the move, working furiously to spread a fiery, revolutionary, countercultural love that includes all people, and we have a very unique part to play in spreading that love, each one of us, as the Spirit gives us ability. It's a restless, unsettled time in the church, to be sure. It's always been that way, since the very beginning. So for now, it might be time to say goodbye, but don't be troubled. Don't be afraid. Because in God's kingdom, goodbyes are never forever. In the meantime, for all of us, there's lots of work to do. So let's get to it. Remembering always that this is not our church. It is God's church. And while God's church might not always be the most comfortable place to be, it is certainly never dull, which is what the disciples were hoping for one afternoon just before the doors were blasted off the room where they were hiding the day the church was born. Amen.